Hello, hello, welcome. My name is Anna Hayes Harless, and I am the co-founder of Harless and Company. And as many of you have probably seen, an offshoot of that is Grow, Glow, Thrive, which I am on Instagram and Facebook as Grow, Glow, Thrive. So that may be how you know me. And I'm ecstatic to be here, really, really excited to have joined in on this summit, thrilled to have been invited and excited to share with you guys today. I work with women around issues of self-doubt and imposter experience. And so that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. What that is, how it shows up, how it's relevant to your business success, and a couple of quick and easy things that you can walk away with today and put into practice right away that will enable you to start absolutely being able to navigate through those moments as they come up. So let's dive in and get started. So the first thing, oh, and let me just mention before we get going, I have some notes here to the right side of me. So if you see me glancing down, it's just so that I stay on track. Anyone who follows me on social media and has been a part of my lives knows that I can start to ramble and get off tangent. And I don't want to do that today. I want to be really honoring of your time and your effort in being here. So I want to stay on track here. So if I glance over, it's because I want to make sure that we're moving along at the right pace and I'm not missing anything. So with that being said, let's dive in. So why are we talking about this, right? Why is imposter experience important to talk about when it comes to being a business owner? And there's a couple, three really key things that I would say come into major focus when it comes to imposter experience in business. One is once you learn to navigate it and work through it, you can increase your revenue and increase your raving fans. And who doesn't want that, right? Number two is it helps increase your quality of life by decreasing anxiety and decreasing self-doubt. Again, who doesn't want that? And the third being, it decreases the power to which your inner narrative has. And I think we can probably all attest to the fact that that inner narrative can be so strong and overwhelmingly pull us in a negative direction from time to time, or for some of us as an everyday occurrence. And wouldn't it be nice if we could find a way to be able to tap into pulling it back more towards a neutral, if not positive, voice. So those are the main focuses today on the two pieces, two tangible takeaways I'd like you to have and why they focus in on the business aspect of things. All right, so what is imposter experience? And why do I call it imposter experience versus imposter syndrome? As many of you may know imposter syndrome and may not have heard imposter experience. So to me, syndrome has a much more clinical leaning terminology to it. And so I have seen it as of late being referred to as imposter experience. And to me, I can relate to that a little bit more. I feel like it's much more of an experience to be in the throes of it than it is a syndrome. So that's why I really gravitate towards that terminology versus the imposter syndrome. They're truly the same thing when it comes down to the definitions, but it's just a choice in how we use the terminology of it. So I use imposter experience, but know that we're talking about the same thing. So what is imposter experience? Imposter experience, in a nutshell, is that you do not feel successful despite much proof to the contrary. So that could mean that you see yourself as a fraud. That could mean you see yourself as illegitimate in your business. It could mean that you see yourself in a way that means you're not valid or worthy. Those are all pieces that coordinate themselves into imposter experience. And one of the key things that I like to reiterate about imposter experience is that while both men and women do experience this, and men are starting to experience it more, women are the primary ones who experience imposter experience. And in fact, it's been said that about 70% of people relate to experiencing imposter experience at some point in their careers. And for many people, it's an ongoing issue. It's an ongoing thing that really takes hold of their mindset and of their business and just puts their talons in and doesn't let go. And so that's the work I do, is helping you to navigate through that, learning some coping mechanisms and some skill sets so that when those talons come out and the imposter experience shows up, you can put up the big X, not this time, and know how to navigate through it and keep powering forward. So if you are still at this point unsure of how imposter experience might be showing up, either for you or for other people, so you can better understand it, I have some quick examples for you. So think about a time as a business owner, you walked into a networking event feeling as though you had no right to be there, right? Ever had that happen? Does that resonate with anybody? What about a time you were sitting in a room full of your peers and you had something to say, but you didn't feel like it was worthy of even mentioning, that you didn't have value to add? Does that sound like it might resonate? What about a time when you had an opportunity, like a new job? So this is kind of going out of the sphere of entrepreneurship, but you had a job you wanted to go after, you had the credentials for it, and you were probably even told by the interviewer, you are absolutely who we're looking for, and you still felt as though you weren't qualified for this job. Does that resonate? These are great examples of imposter experience showing its ugly head and how it can infiltrate just an everyday moment. And lastly, what I would say about ways that it shows up, especially for business owners, is not going after opportunities or clients that you know would help you build your business. And often we stretch ourselves as entrepreneurs with new clients, right? We always have somebody that's an ideal client that we would love to land. It would be a huge deal for our business. But for those that struggle with imposter experience, it may mean that we sit back and let somebody else work with that client because we didn't feel the confidence and the absolute drive to get that client into our wheelhouse. And there's no shame in that. That's the thing I want to make sure you don't take away from this talk so far, is to feel shame about having these feelings and being a part of these circumstances. So many people struggle with this, myself included. So before we move on, I want to give you a little bit of a background on me so you can see how this has shown up for me and how I got into the work that I did. I know I did a little bit of this in my intro, so this may be a little repetitive, I apologize, but I do think that it makes sense to revisit it a little bit before we move on. So I consider myself what I call a recovering imposter, because in my mind, as someone who has struggled with imposter experience for the bulk of my career, it is not something that ever goes away. Anyone that tells you that imposter experience will disappear if you do X, Y, and Z is just not being truthful or transparent with you. It is a human experience. And because we're all human beings, we will inevitably experience this from time to time. What I like to say is that you can do work that enables you to get better prepared to power through those moments when they show up, and make it so that instead of derailing you and absolutely stripping your power away, you're simply diverted for a moment or having to refocus and then able to navigate through them. So I spent about 15 years in corporate sales and leadership before becoming an entrepreneur. And imposter experience was a glaring part of my day-to-day, particularly in a few of my jobs throughout my career. And I had a really hard time recognizing what it was. And I spent a lot of time beating myself up because I just wasn't sure what it was, and I didn't have anyone to help me with it. So it took me a long time to develop the coping skills necessary to power through it, to learn about it, and to feel more confident in dealing with it. And it wasn't, and so I guess I can say that by the end of my corporate career, I felt much more confident around dealing with my imposter experience. Well, then comes becoming an entrepreneur. And anyone who has gone from corporate to being an entrepreneur knows just how different that is. Right? I mean, we could go on for hours about the differences in working for yourself versus working for somebody else. But my imposter experience came roaring back, and it really put things in perspective for me that I needed to go back and redo some of the work that I had done previously to remind myself of my worth, of my successes, of my achievements, and of the fact that I deserved to be where I was. I deserved to be showing up and serving the way that I wanted to and making the impact that I wanted to in this world. So that being said, a little bit behind the scenes of me, I hope that helps shed a little bit of light on how it can show up and how you can also navigate through it. So it does take some work, but the work is really, really rewarding. And I always say there's no better investment than you. All right, so now that we know all of that, let's dive into the 2 tangible takeaways that we can work on right away that are going to help make an impact in both dealing with the imposter experience and dealing with self-doubt, which honestly, in my opinion, go hand in hand. They truly do. So the first is absolutely owning your success. And what do I mean by that? Owning your success means that you take some time to really, really sit in what you have done to this point that has made you successful. What have you done to this point that has helped you get through adversity? Because let's be honest, we've all gotten through adversity, whether it be when you started your business, when you pivoted, when you had to make a transition, when you had a team join you. There's so many times in business where people will have had adversity and will have needed to pivot in some way, shape, or form. So what I highly recommend to those that work with me, and this is one of the absolute first things we do, is what I consider a simple but very, very effective and powerful exercise. And that's to take out a piece of paper, a Google Doc, the notes on your phone, whatever you are going to find to be easiest to be accessible, and make a running list, one that will be updated from time to time, on those successes and on those times that you overcame adversity. And I would almost differentiate them into 2 categories, right? Your ongoing successes and then the category of overcoming adversity, because it's almost 2 different things and 2 different ways to look at stuff in different situations. And you want to make sure you have some powerful backing when that nasty imposter experience voice comes to the back of your head, that you are ready to overcome it as best as possible. So what I do is I have you write down your list. If you're struggling in any way, which is okay, many people do their first round through this, I suggest you ask people that know you, whether that be family, friends, business partners, team members, clients, people that have worked closely with you. What have I done well that has made an impact on you? What have I done well that has helped this company pivot when it was necessary? What have I done well that was important to do when I was unsure of what my next step was? And I promise you, everybody has these things. Everybody. We're all successful in our own right, but what's blocking us is those limiting beliefs in our head. It's that imposter experience voice that's keeping us from feeling successful. But when you write it down, when you really put it from your brain into a way to be able to see it and visualize it whenever you need to, you're going to allow yourself to retrain and reframe that voice. So for instance, you do this exercise on a day where you're feeling good, you're feeling successful, maybe you got a great testimonial from a client, and you say to yourself, okay, today's the day I'm going to write down my list of 10 successes and 3 times I overcame adversity. And you put that away to a spot that's very easily accessible for you. And a week later, something doesn't go right in your business, and you immediately go to a place in your brain where you say, not only was that a failure, but I'm a failure. Does that sound familiar? Who's been there? I know I have. I was just there maybe a week ago. So I know that feeling well. So you pull out your list. My list is kept right to the left of my computer every day on my desk. I look at it every day, morning and night. It's really, really helpful. It's a powerful exercise. And you're just going to look at that list, and you're going to look at it and read it out loud if you can. If you're in a space where you can read out loud, read it out loud, because that even helps your brain take it in even more so and makes it a really, really powerful statement. Think of it as an affirmation. So there's power in affirmations. I'm sure you've heard all about them. I am successful because blank. I am successful because blank, so on and so forth. You could do it that way. You could just list them out as each individual action or each individual result. But either way, you have something to reference back to. And I would absolutely recommend that as new things populate in your life, whether it's a new testimonial, a new challenge that was overcome in your business, that you add that to the list. And maybe if you have a list that's pretty long, you take off a couple of the first few things. And so you're just continually adding to it. Like I said, this is a simple exercise, so to speak. When you start it, it can be challenging, especially if it's your first time doing it, because it can be really hard to get out of that mindset of I'm not successful and I'm not worthy of doing this work. However, if you can get it on paper, that's such a big step, I promise, because it will bring you huge amount of return when you start to put it into practice. So that's my first tip. And when you start to see yourself as being more successful, that draws more clients to you. And that also allows you to feel more confident in searching out more of those ideal clients for you, which translates to a better bottom line on your business. And who doesn't want that? So focus on this exercise. You can do it right after you get off this training. And it's truly, truly powerful, truly powerful. So I think you'll love it. I'd love to hear from you if you try it out and what you think about it. So the next concept I wanted to talk to you about is stopping playing the comparison game. And again, what feels like a simple exercise, but is so pivotal in success. And in success in your growing your business, success in keeping your anxiety and self-doubt down, and success in continuing to focus on what you need to do to advance your business. So why is comparison such a big deal now, more so than it used to be? I think a lot of that comes from the fact that we, for the most part, connect online. And if you're anything like me, I tend to see people posting their highlight reels, right? I mean, there's not a lot of people out there that post their struggles. And that's no fault. That's just kind of how it is. But if we're constantly comparing our reality to other people's highlight reels, there's always going to be this disconnect, right? We know what we're struggling with, what our shortcomings are, where our gaps are in business. but we don't know the gaps and the shortcomings of someone else's business if they're not openly sharing them with us. So all we're comparing our gaps to is someone else's success. And as you can see, that's a losing game. There's no way you're going to take away from that anything that's going to be positive and uplifting, that's going to help you get more clients, be more successful, be more confident, help you get through self-doubt or imposter experience. None of that is going to happen. It's simply going to be dragging you down to feeling as though you're even more in the throes of the imposter experience and the self-doubt. So we want to try to stay as far away from that as possible. So, Anna, how do I do that? The first thing I recommend is staying in your lane. What do I mean by that? I mean, you put the blinders on and you get ultra focused on what you're doing. What is it that I'm here to do and serve? Who are my people? What's my business about? What am I here to do? What kind of impact do I want to make? Because Susie Q's business over there has a completely different lane that she's in than your business does. And it's not because one business is better than the other, but it's for many reasons, some of which I'm about to cover in here. But it does mean that every lane, every business has a different lane. And so you really want to stay focused on your lane. Shut down the noise that you're seeing on every other side of you, around you, because it's there. Believe me, I see it myself, and it's an easy trap to fall into. But work really hard on focusing on staying in your lane and staying focused on what is important to you in your business, your values, your compass, your why, and I'll go into that in just a minute. So focus on what you're working on what you're good at, what you value, what the purpose is of what you're doing. Those things can all help you feel centered and focused and easily able to stay in your lane as you navigate that word. And then the next thing I highly recommend is writing down your why. So why are you willing to put yourself out there for your clients? Why do you work with your clients, and how does it bring you joy? What are you passionate about? What are these things doing that are going to help you build your business? Instead of comparing your spot where you're at now to somebody else's spot and you don't even know where they're at, right? They could be at the starting line, but telling everyone they're at spot 5. Because again, there's no transparency, there's just the highlight. You want to focus on what truly is going to keep you advancing forward. And I talk a lot with my clients about forward action. Every time we talk, we set up an action step, because I fully believe that in order to gain momentum and to gain traction with your goals, there always has to be an action attached to it. And it doesn't have to be large or small. It simply has to be something that you're doing that's going to enable you to put one foot in front of the other, one idea out there, one new passion project, whatever it may be, something that's going to enable you to get there and really be able to focus on exactly how you want to best serve and show up. And that's so important. The other piece of things is that there's only one you. There's only one you. 7 billion people on this planet, and there's only one you. So don't lose sight of that. That one you translates to only one of your businesses. So while Susie Q may also run a marketing firm, her marketing firm has nothing to do with your marketing firm. You're two different people. You have two different passions. You want to show up in a way that's totally different from the other. You want to serve in a way that's different from other people. Shoot, your ideal client is probably different from hers. So really understand that if you're focused on growing your business, you want to be focused on you and your business and not listening to the noise. That's really going to help you. Our last concept was really about increasing revenue and raving fans. This one's really about decreasing that anxiety and self-doubt, and also helping to change that inner narrative, the power of the inner narrative. Going back to the 3 reasons why we're talking about this today. So keep that in mind as you're going through these things, that they're both really powerful concepts, but I wanted to choose things today that you could walk away that were simple, tangible, quickly able to be done, and you could really see power in them right away if you put them into action. And action is the name of the game. I really wanted to thank you today for spending some time with me to learn about imposter experience, learn about what it is, how it shows up, how it can affect your business and your bottom line, and what we can do about it in 2 quick, straightforward exercises to help you start to navigate through it in a way that feels good, authentic, positive, transparent, and really a way to bring about some more passion, productivity, and revenue in your business. I hope this was helpful. I really enjoyed being here, and I'd love to connect. So I look forward to that. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the rest of this summit. It's an absolutely amazing experience and lineup.